Graham, I'll just start with the injuries that you've got and how those are progressing and whether Jamie Walker, Lewis Richards are in a position where they're available on Saturday.
Jamie and Lewis, they part trained today, so we have to see how they are overnight and how they've come back. Obviously, they haven't missed a big chunk of training. Anyway, it's quite recent their issue, so we'll just see how they are. We don't want to take any risk because obviously we can't afford to lose anybody else. But we'll just see where they are. Aidan and Neil Bernard both been on the grass this week, but not with us, with the medical team. Anyone else?
Kieran, obviously, I know that
Kieran,
the results came back, didn't they?
So Kieran had an operation yesterday, so we're waiting to see how that went. We're waiting for the feedback on that, but he had an operation yesterday, so he'll be out for a few months. Joe Adams, he's going to see a specialist tomorrow, so we're waiting to see what comes back from that. He had a scan yesterday, I believe. It might have been Monday evening, but the scan has to go to a specialist to come back to us and Wigan, obviously his parent club, before we know the full extent of that. And the other two, obviously Sars and Cam Johnson, then just on their road to recovery. Yeah,
and in Anthony's particular case, progressing how you'd like him to. I know there was a setback initially, but is that progressing now how you'd like it to?
Yeah, he's just had to. He saw somebody on Monday, and he had an injection just to speed up the process. So that was part of the plan anyway. So he's where we expected him to be.
We spoke last week about the free agent market and whether that was a possibility or not for you. With the news this week and how people are progressing, is that still on the table for you? Is still looking at the free agent market as a possibility? And if so, how close are you with that?
Yeah, we are, because I think, like I said, even if we bring players back, I think we need to be aware of who's available and what condition they're in and stuff like that, because if anything happened again to any further players, we'd be in a difficult situation. So we will keep those lines of observation open and be ready to act if needed.
I guess that's the question then. Are you close? Do you feel like you need to act?
I did maybe a week ago. So we put some feelers out and we spoke to a couple of people. We're just going to wait to see where Aidan and Berner are when they join back into training. But it's not just that position. There's another position we feel we're a little bit light on. So with obviously Joe, Jamie missing and Sars missing, they're all in a similar position. So we're just being observant at the moment and making sure that we're ready if we do have to make a move.
A few days on now from Wimbledon, obviously, and I think you described it after the game as a point that down the line could prove to be really valuable. Just reflections on that now, a few days on, and how you went as a team.
Yeah, I think they're pretty similar. I think it was a difficult game. I think they're a good team. They're strong. They played with a real strong defensive bank of a back five, midfield three, and then even the strikers became a 1-1. So really difficult to create a lot of chances. But they've got a lot of firepower, and they didn't create that much against us as well. So after the issues we've had injury-wise, to get 2 clean sheets on the back of that, we're really pleased on that. But we know we can attack better in certain aspects, so we've looked at that this week, how we can keep that creativity that we've had in the previous games. Our chances that we've created have been quite high. We've scored obviously in most of the games, but we were just a little bit blunted, and we have to give Wimbledon due respect for that, but also the things we could have done better. But we're 2 games into a formation where we've had no time to work on it, so we try to make the players aware of what we just need to adapt to in this new formation if we maintain it.
Again, next question right on that point. Is this a short-term thing, needs must, or are you open to looking at this and saying actually this could be something that we use moving forward?
I think it's obviously needs must at the minute. At half time against Walsall, it was a needs must situation. We didn't have any personnel to change it going into the next game, but then we were very happy with the performance at Mansfield, and then we took the defensive side to it into the Wimbledon game. So it's just wait and see, really. From my perspective, really, we're in a results-based business. I want to win games, and if whatever formation we have to play to win games, then I'll play it. It's about getting the best players on the pitch as often as possible, and we always work around the players we have available and try to put them in positions that they're comfortable in, rather than me be dogmatic with a certain formation or style of play. If we haven't got the players out, then we have to be, that dirty word, pragmatic, which people don't seem to like sometimes, but I think it's common sense. I think get your best players on the pitch and put them in a formation that suits them rather than suits me.
Yeah. An FA charge came through yesterday, that was announced. Within that, the club has the opportunity to respond by, I think, tomorrow. Will the club be responding to that FA charge?
I haven't spoke to David or Ryan on that, because I only got confirmation of it when I left the work yesterday. So I would think that we will. I think there's something overhanging from last season, before my time, when there was another situation. Right. So I think it's part to do with that, maybe a suspended sort of charge or something like that. I got the email, I'll be honest, I didn't read it all the way through. We've got other things to focus on, so but we'll deal with that as a club in the meantime. I didn't see any more players. Look, we know there's conditions that you can't go around the referee and stuff like that, but I don't think we actually went around the referee. I think we went around the situation. I think Richie made a tackle that was, I don't think it was deemed a foul, I'm not sure, but everyone reacted from their side, and our players got around it. So it's a thing that has always happened in contact sport, not just football, rugby, the lot. But we understand if there's something there we have to do better, then we have to try and do better.
I don't know how much you can kind of talk further on it, given that the charge is in place and you've got an opportunity to respond, but does it tie in with, I guess, the frustrations that have been felt in regards to the officiating of late? I've seen some of the reaction to it, the charge, and I think some fans are pointing towards how the game was officiated and whether or not, if the officiating might have been better, then it might not have happened.
I don't think we reacted in a way because there was frustration building up or anything like that. I think it was a flashpoint that there was a challenge which I seen or deemed to be perfectly normal in a game of football. It was, when I look back at it, their players did rush in on Richie and Brad, who were right on there. So I think there was, maybe 4 or 5 players of theirs, and I think the rest of our Richie and Brad's teammates got round to. If you look at it closely, I think everyone's pulling people away. Rather, there's 18, 19 players, but maybe 2 or 3 pushing each other. The others are just trying to break it up. But it's not a good look. We understand that for football in any circumstance. But I don't think any of our individuals did anything particularly wrong. But look, we'll have to look into it and deal with it accordingly. So, but like I say, I haven't really gone into it in any depth really with trying to get a team together.
And get a team together for Harrogate next for you. Obviously a fixture last season that many looked towards, but actually, yes, it was a difficult afternoon for you that occasion, but what followed afterwards was that great run. How do you reflect on that afternoon? Obviously, as I say, difficult in the immediate future, but what came from it on the back of that? Yeah,
it was a terrible day for us, to be honest. Not a good performance, certainly not a good result in front of a brilliant support on the day from our fans, and it's a local derby, so it was not a good day at all. But I just, I remember it was a long drive home on my own in the car back to my house, and I just sat there in silence and really thought about what we have to do from now on. I think I'd had enough time here to understand the squad at the time, the challenge ahead, what it meant managing Bradford, and I made some decisions that night in my head that I needed to follow through and change in a meaningful way. And the results from then to the end of the season were excellent. And that was down to the players playing in that way, and we wanted to continue that. And I do believe we've had our challenges this season with missing a lot of players, but I think the performances have been just right on the edge of that, but not as high as they were at the end. But every negative that happens in your career, I've learned to try and turn into a positive, rather than look back and bitch and whinge and cry about it. Just be proactive, just make sure you're focused on the future. And from that point, 100% I was focused on the future. And I did look towards this season, to be honest. We still wanted to win games for just winning's sake, but at that point, I didn't think we were going to achieve anything, if I'm being honest, as in playoffs or anything like that. So I thought, right, how are we going to go forward next season? And I need to see the players who can help us do that. And I think that time after that was really productive for us.
Football can be a very results-based business. It can be cutthroat at times. But do experiences and moments in games like that, can it be a catalyst for change? I think about the Notts County game and how you were up against it at half-time, and then the response to that, and then the games that followed. And similarly with Harrogate, does it need to get to that point sometimes to then look at where you can improve and move forward?
Yeah, because I think it's a reality check, and I think there was a serious reality check that day. And and I didn't want to wait till the summer to start thinking about this season. I thought, no, it has to be now. I think it can just. I believe we're all underneath optimistic and hopeful, and you always. Sometimes there's difficult things going on or issues, and you hopefully you can work through it, or you'll come through it in some other way. And then there's some things that are that defined, that black and white. You go, no, put hope to the side, and let's work practically on what we have to do, build in the future. And that was a massive reality check for me and Chris, obviously. And we didn't change everything overnight, but in our head we knew what we had to change over the next 2 or 3 months to try and change the trajectory of this club. And still a lot of work to be done. We haven't done anything yet. That's really obvious. But I think we've made progress since that day, without a shadow of a doubt.
And as you say, it is a Yorkshire derby, and it's a game that Harrogate particularly get up for. They enjoy the prospect and challenge of playing Bradford City from their recent history to the club's recent history in Bradford City. So it will be a difficult game as a result of that, won't it? Yeah,
but we should be up for the game as well. No, I don't see why they have a right to be more up for a game than us. I think I dread to think that was the scenario with any of my teams going into any game. And I know there's an inconsistency in football because we're all humans and we can make mistakes, but I think motivation and commitment to your game should never be questioned. And I look at this group of players and I can't even think of many occasions. I think the Grimsby game was one where we didn't compete at the right levels, but after that I think the players have been there for the game and approached it in the right way. So I think it's a big game for both teams. That's how I see it. We're in the same division as everybody else that we're going to play in the league, so we have no divine right to run over anybody. We have to earn it, and we constantly emphasise that message day in, day out, regardless of who we're playing, and this week's no different for me.
Thank you, Graham.
Okay, mate.
And being a derby, does it feel different for you as a manager going into such a game, playing in such a game? Is there a different feeling around it?
No, not right now. No, I think because look, I've been in the game 35 years, and played a lot of games, and they all should mean something. So in the end, I think you break it down to what it means to you and your team and your club, and then the competition is outside of those first priorities, and the first priority is for your own club. So. For me, we go into every game with the same motivation, whether it's the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, whether it's a pre-season friendly, whether it's a league game against a local rival. I don't think anyone's good enough to turn the tap on and off. I'm certainly not, and I've learned over the years just to focus on your own performance going into every game. So there's different things you have to take into account in a derby, the emotions and keep your focus on that. So I think there's a slight difference to that, but I can't remember. Well, I've never gone into a game not fully focused on trying to win a game of football. I think that's ingrained in you from being a young player. So I think my team will be like that. But Yeah, look, there's always different circumstances around games, different feelings. But once you cross the white line, it's a game of football that's just like any other.
And obviously, early kick-off as well. Does that change any of the build-up at all?
Yeah, I'd say that's the biggest difference, because it's it's an unusual kick-off time for people in professional football. It's usually 3 o'clock or an evening game, so the preparation is different, but it is the same for both clubs. And there's not a big long journey for obviously us going away from home. So just apart from maybe your eating patterns and your sleep pattern, I think everything else is the same. Certainly in the 3 hours leading up to the game. So. But yes, it's an unusual time, but I think players are used to it now. It was less and less, it was less in my day as a player, but it's quite common now because of the TV and everything.
I suppose with another game Tuesday, it gives you that extra couple of hours of recovery time afterwards.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, 2 hours won't make much difference. The players will get 2 days in between, so lads will be ready to play 2 games, no problem at all. I don't think that the kick-off time will make any difference to that sort of recovery. It's too small a margin to focus on that.
Cheers.
Okay, mate.
Obviously, you're saying, Graham, you've been in the game for 35 years. When you think you're up against a manager who's been in that job for a third of your career in football, it's a very strange scenario, isn't it? Particularly in the modern day when you've got a manager who's been at a club and basically, it's moulded that club. Years after year after year.
Yeah, I think it must be a brilliant feeling to be a manager of that scenario where you can really build a club and be ingrained in every part of it, and see it in your image, because it's extremely rare and it's extremely difficult to do in the modern game. I think if you look at my time as a manager, it's probably 12 years now, and I've had more clubs than I did in 24 years as a player. I always consider myself to be a loyal person, but in management that doesn't really matter. I don't think you can define your time at a football club. I think you have to work as quick as possible in the best possible way and try and get success really quickly. But Simon's built that club up from a lower level into a football league club and a stable football league club, I would say, and he's done a fantastic job, and it must be. I just sometimes wonder about that, how good it must feel to have that longevity at a club and really see things through and be able to navigate a difficult period and still be seeing the team come through, because all teams go through spells and cycles, but not all of us get the opportunity to see through that cycle. So fair play to them.
Do you think if you ever had that sort of opportunity, that length of time, is there a bit of a sort of challenge to get up and be up for it every day, if you get what I mean? Because you've been in that role for he's been in that role for a dozen years, and yet you're still going to have the same hunger day in, day out, year in, year out.
I don't know, because obviously I've not had that experience, but I know I was at Preston North End as a player for 8 years, and I was as motivated on my 400th game, my last game in my first spell, as I was on the first, to win and play well and be good at my profession. So I personally wouldn't see that as an issue. I'd love to find out one day. To get that sort of impact at a club, it would be fantastic. No, I don't think so. I think there's too many challenges every day, and there's so many different challenges, and you work with different players season in, season out. I mean, I don't know how many players they'd have managed in that period, but that keeps you fresh and keeps you ready. You're always learning about the job and learning about your players.
The role changes
year
on year, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I don't know if you've been there that long, does it? But certainly there's so many different things. You play in different clubs every season and stuff like that. So I think football's a brilliant sport, and there's enough to motivate you to get up out of your bed in the morning to go to work. I think he's in an enviable position when you get that sort of time at a club, to be honest.